So recently, a bunch of unaired pilots found their way online, dating back to the 90s. What I want to do is look at these pilots and determine two things. 1, did it have potential? And 2, how different would popular culture be if this pilot was picked up for series? Today we're opening up the pilot vault and looking at the pilot for a show called Big Thunder. I don't know too much about this pilot, but what I do know is the screenwriter for it also wrote the screenplay for Ice Age Continental Drift, which, as we all know, is basically the Citizen Kane of the 21st century. Did anyone else cry when Sid couldn't get his nuts? I know I did. Oh, and it's also based on a roller coaster, the Big Thunder, at Disneyland. A drama based on a Disney ride, eh? So it's up there with like Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean. Let's dive right in and see what this show has to offer. We start with what looks like the first episode of Snowpiercer, but then we see a lunatic walking through a mineshaft. He comes out and looks at the horizon. Look at him like an emo Doctor Who. The green screen work in this pilot is dreadful. Just a heads up, it's like this all the way through. It's revealed that this has taken place in 1845, so pre-Civil War. Everyone has pretty much turned to dust, so emo Doctor Who goes around eating them. Oh wait, no, that was Lister from Red Dwarf, wrong show. But while he may not be chewing the dead bodies, what he is chewing is the scenery. Like, he looks around really seriously at everything. Then we skip ahead. 50 years later, we're on a train. If emo Doctor Who shows up on this train, not having aged a day, I won't be surprised at all. Now, I'm a big fan of movies and shows set on trains. Like, even a subpar movie set on a train, such as Liam Neeson's The Commuter, is really enjoyable for me. There's something great about having these characters stuck in one location and having to talk their way out of their problems. Plus, it saves on the terrible use of green screens. Unfortunately, this pilot doesn't really do anything with this train scene. It's pretty dull. I bet there wasn't even a bar on board. They clearly just tried to force the train into the pilot because there was a train on the actual ride. I wonder how many more times they're gonna try and force a train into this show. We meet a kid and his parents. His mum doesn't really have any interesting character traits, and his dad is a doctor. There's also the kid's nanny. These are our main characters. The little boy starts choking, but no one gives him the Heimlich maneuver, because Heimlich wasn't going to be born for another 20 or so years. But don't worry, he survives. His dad feeds him like some air through a tube or something. We then see the mountain, the Big Thunder, and everyone seems really taken aback by this. Oh look, it's that guy from Dark Winds. He's playing the sheriff. And then emo Doctor Who appears, having not aged a day, despite 50 years having passed. I was genuinely joking when I said that before. I can't believe I called it. I can't wait until they discover his emo TARDIS. I bet you it's a train. This guy gives off big Russell Brand vibes, doesn't he? I wouldn't be surprised if this was written for him, because everything from the way he speaks to the way he uses his hands, it's just very Russell Brand.
Thank you for bringing your beautiful family all the way out to our remote corner of the world.
We're all equal in the ice cream world.
What was Brand doing back in 2013? Apart from, assaulting women. I know he did Get It to the Greek in 2010, and then the Arthur remake a year later. And around then he did Rock of Ages, didn't he? Oh wait, 2013 was when he stepped away from the mainstream, as he likes to put it. Maybe this was made for him after all. They only just missed him if so. He would have been perfect for this role. There's a lot of attention put on the drawing that kid from the beginning makes. It's given me similar vibes to Lost or From, as in they are setting up a lot of different future storylines, despite having absolutely no idea how to wrap any of them up. We learn that emo Doctor Who's name is Mr. White. Yo, Mr. White! And he talks with the nanny about how the little boy was able to predict the future. Basically, he drew a man falling off the big mountain, and then that man fell off the big mountain. I mean, that hardly takes a psychic, does it? Daphne from Frasier could have called that one. It's the tallest thing around. If you were going to draw someone falling off something, you'd pick the massive mountain, wouldn't you? Hey, if there are any like Disney fanatics watching this, can you please lend me some of your genius? Just tell me in the comments how closely this pilot represents the ride. Like, is Emo Doctor Who part of the ride? I really want to know. The kid goes for a walk through the woods and discovers an old train, which he starts playing with. When I said they were going to try and force trains into this as much as possible, I was only joking. I can't believe they were this unsubtle. Anyway, his mum is fuming at him for messing about on the train, in case he hurts himself. Yeah, he should definitely make sure the safety rail is down. Meanwhile, the doctor and the sheriff go into a mine shaft. Why does that sound like the setup for a crappy joke? The doctor wakes up the next morning, and he's fuming that his son is riding a horse.
What in God's name is going on?
God, calm down, man, it's only a horse. It turns out that the kid has breathing issues, so he wasn't choking on the train earlier. He was simply struggling to breathe. But that's not a problem now, and he's riding a horse like it's completely fine. They start to believe that this town has healing properties. Later that night, the boy opens his door, and a bunch of Native Americans are staring at him. The doctor is fuming that the Native Americans let his son join in their prayer thing. This plot feels like it just keeps repeating the same beats. The son does something, the dad runs outside and shouts at whoever is with him. Rinse and repeat. The dad needs to chill. The nanny goes through some old storage boxes and finds a newspaper from like 30 years ago. And there's a photograph of Emo Doctor Who on the front page. They start to suspect that this weird town, which suddenly healed their son out of nowhere, might be a bit weird. They freak out because the son has gone missing, so go out searching for him. Meanwhile, the son is following the creepy old train he found earlier. Only now it is working, with the engines on and steam coming out of it. So of course he hops on board and starts driving it straight into a mine shaft. Have you seen that meme where it says like, Minecraft is the best selling game of all time, and then the meme says, the children long for the mines? This is just a representation of that meme. The kid's dad arrives just in time to hop on board the train. Hey, I wonder if Lisa Simpson will check his ticker. The train goes through a sort of time vortex. I knew this train was Emo Doctor Who's TARDIS. They obviously spent most of the budget for this pilot on these shots, and I presume these weren't finished because they're still not all there, but still you can tell a lot of effort went into them. This was just a pilot sent out to like sales teams and stuff, so there still would have been time before it aired. It just so happens that the people at the network didn't like what they saw, so all work on it was stopped, and that's why we're seeing what we're seeing now. Somehow they survived the trip on the magical train through the mountain, and they end up confronting Emo Doctor Who, but they decide not to ask him how he happened to be in a newspaper 30 years prior. Now, with the episode coming to a close, everyone is back on the train from the beginning. Your typical story circle stuff. And as the train is driving away from the mountain, the kid starts being ill again. So they learn they can't leave the town. So it's a little like From, in that the trap there. God, this smoke overlay is dreadful. We could do better than that on this channel. And that's the end of that. They were stuck in the town forever, I suppose, and we'll never get any answers regarding Emo Doctor Who. I suppose he just tormented them for the rest of time, but like I said, we'll never know, because this pilot was not picked up for a full series. You know what, I might try and reach out to the writer of this and see if he can answer any questions about where the show was going. Maybe I can get him to sign my Ice Age Continental Drift merch while I'm at it. So, where does this pilot rank among the other unaired pilots that we've looked at? Well, It didn't really do anything for me. I'm sticking this in meh. Looking at it now, this will be the first non-comedy in that category. Usually with these high concept shows, they have a little spark that makes me intrigued, but honestly, I wouldn't have watched the second episode of this. It's lucky that it didn't do anything offensive, otherwise it would have been an awful. I'm putting this at the end of the meh category. Right, are there any other unaired pilots you want me to look at? If so, let me know in the comments and subscribe, help us get to 4K. Right, there you go.